The 70-200 has been around forever, but this lens is here to shake up the realm of telephoto. Hey guys, it's Wong Pham, and today we are talking about the Tamron 70-180. This lens only goes up to 180, not the usual 200, but the trade-offs that you get, well, you can see the difference. For starters, this lens doesn't have the foot that you usually see on the 70-200 2.8s because this lens is about 40% lighter than the 70-200. In addition to being lighter, this lens is also shorter than the standard 70-200. However, it does extend when you do zoom into 180, unlike most of the 70-200s, which have an internal mechanism that shifts the optics around. However, this one does extend the lens. The front element of this lens has a thread size of 67, so that's going to be good to know if you want to put ND filters, polarizers, whatever onto your lens. This lens does go to f2.8, and that's what makes this so revolutionary. If you are familiar with Tamron's other lenses like the 17-28 and the 28-75, then you'll already know the build quality of this lens. The Tamron 70-180 does use a plastic exterior, unlike the metal exteriors used by the Sigma and Sony lenses. Most 70-200 2.8s are very heavy and bulky, and they're a pain to carry around, especially if you're going to an event where you are hand-holding this the whole entire time. This is going to change the game for being able to bring around something that you can carry around easily and be able to get that reach of almost 200, and this goes to 180. The question here is, what are you sacrificing at 180 versus 200? Let's dive into a few samples and find out. So these samples we're taking with the 70-200 on a Nikon D750 and the 70-180 on a Sony a7 III. So this is the 70-180 at 180. Now switching over to the 200, you'll see the lights at the top got cut off and the two people on the side got trimmed out. Essentially it zoomed in more, obviously. However, that's something that I would have been able to replicate with the 180 just by taking a few steps forward. Now here's another quick example looking at the 180 right now and then switching to the 200. You'll see again the background gets a little more compressed because now we're looking at a farther focal length of 200 as opposed to the 180, which was also a little wider. Both of these sets of photos were taken from the same exact spot. Here are a few other shots just to show off the bokeh and the quality that you would get when using the 70-180. Now, what do I initially think of the 70-180? I think the quality that you get for this lens is worth the trade-off of the 20mm. Now, disclaimer, this lens is not for everyone. I will say this, looking at the images that were taken and comparing the two different focal lengths, I can see situations where if you are, for example, a sports photographer or a wildlife photographer, where you can't physically get closer to certain things, you can't get on the field to get closer to a player or something like that, you might need the extra reach. In that case, you would have to go with the 70-200, and if you're using a Sony camera, then you have to go with the G Master series. If you're someone like me and you hike a lot and you're trying to minimize the amount of weight on your back and your backpack and everything like that, then this lens is a game changer because carrying around the 70-200 is extremely heavy, and that for a very small amount of photos that I take. Most of the photos I take are on wider lenses. I don't usually use the 70-200, but it is nice to bring around and have. However, this 70-180 is a lot lighter and it's a lot smaller as well, so I can fit it into a smaller bag, and that means that I can carry this around easier and not have to worry so much about bringing around a lens that I probably only use for maybe 5-10% most of the photos I end up taking. This lens does perform very well optically, and there's a lot of people that is going to be doing very, very in-depth reviews on the optics and the vignetting and the distortion or anything of this lens, so I'm not going to dive into all that. I just want to go over the fact that this lens is so much smaller than the standard 70-200s, and it's so much lighter, and that in and of itself is a game changer. Now onto the price. Up till now, if you had a Sony camera and you wanted a 70-200, you only had one option, and that was the Sony G Master lens. The Sony G Master 70-200 at f4 is already $1,500, and the 2.8 version is going to run you $2,500. The Tamron 70 to 180 is $1,200 and gives you all the way up to 180 at 2.8. It's a lot lighter, a lot easier to carry around, and it's going to save you a lot of money if you get this versus the 70 to 200 G Master. So that is it for this video. That's been my initial thoughts of this lens, and I think for my needs, this lens is perfect, and it's definitely going to cut down on the weight and the size of the gear that I have to bring around. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or any thoughts on the 20mm focal length difference, and if you have any scenarios you can think of where you would need that extra 20mm and where that is worth more than this. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.